Welcome to Arcane Echoes. I'm your host, Jessica. Tonight, we descend into the age old shadows of one of North America's most mysterious natural landscapes, the Appalachian Mountains. These ancient peaks stretch over 1,500 miles, from the fog laced valleys of Alabama to the rugged woodlands of northern Canada. At over 480 million years old, they are among the oldest mountains on Earth, predating even the Atlantic Ocean. Woven into their ridges and hollows are tales that defy time, tales of strange lights, monstrous cryptids, and ghostly whispers that ride the wind. Interestingly, these mountains share a geological ancestry with Scotland's Caledonian Range, a remnant of a long forgotten era when the continents were joined as Pangaea. Some folklorists believe that supernatural forces flowed freely across that unified land, leaving behind an ancestral echo, one that still haunts both sides of the Atlantic today. In this episode, we'll explore 6 eerie legends born from Appalachian soil. These are not the campfire tales of children, but chilling whispers passed through generations. So dim the lights, wrap yourself in a blanket, and prepare to be unsettled. Our journey begins with one of the most iconic and enduring cryptids in American folklore, the Mothman. The legend took root in the quiet town of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, a riverside community nestled among thick forests and winding roads. It was the late autumn of 1966 when the first sightings were reported. What followed was a year of terror, strange phenomena, mysterious figures, and a sense of mounting dread that culminated in one of the region's most tragic disasters. Witnesses described the creature as a dark-winged humanoid standing over 6 feet tall with massive bat-like wings and eyes that glowed an unnatural blazing red. Some claimed it flew without flapping its wings, gliding through the air as if gravity had forgotten it. Others swore they could hear its wings before they saw it, a low, rhythmic flutter, like an omen stirring the very air around them. But what makes the Mothman more than just a cryptid is its association with tragedy. On December 15th, 1967, the Silver Bridge collapsed during rush hour, killing 46 people. Some believe the Mothman was a harbinger, warning the town of the coming catastrophe. Others think it may have been a spiritual guardian, misunderstood in its attempts to intervene. Regardless, its sightings dropped off drastically after the bridge fell, deepening the mystery. And yet, not all stories stopped. Richard, a lifelong Point Pleasant resident, shared a chilling memory from the fall of 1966. I was driving near the old TNT plant, he said. Fog was rolling in heavy. The air smelled like wet leaves and rust. Out of nowhere, the shape landed in front of my car. Taller than a man, but wrong. Its wings were ragged, stretched unnaturally wide, and its eyes. They weren't just glowing. They were burning like coals straight from a fire. I felt this pressure in my chest, like it knew me, like it had always known me. Sandra, a local nurse working the night shift, had her own encounter just weeks later. There was a thunderstorm, hard rain, pounding, she recalled. I was driving across the old overpass alone. Lightning flashed, and I saw it hovering, wings spread, motionless, eyes fixed on me. Time stopped, and I couldn't breathe. It wasn't attacking, it was watching. I had the overwhelming sense that something terrible was going to happen. John, an EMT familiar with the local terrain, recounted an eerie moment in 1967, just weeks before the Silver Bridge collapse. He'd been dispatched to the scene of a car wreck late at night. I was standing near the tree line, shining my flashlight when I caught a movement above the canopy. It glided silently overhead, massive, dark, with tattered wings, and then it turned mid-flight. Those red eyes flashed down at me, and I felt this crushing dread, like it wasn't the creature that was dangerous, but whatever it was trying to warn us about. These weren't isolated cases. Over 100 sightings were reported in the span of 13 months, most of them eerily similar in detail, though told by people who had never met each other. Farmers, students, police officers, factory workers, they all described the same thing. And then came December 15th. The collapse of the Silver Bridge was blamed on a single faulty eye bar in the suspension chain. But to many, the coincidence was too much to ignore. Some believe the Mothman fled afterward, returning to whatever dimension or realm it came from. Others believe it remains in the area, dormant, waiting. But the sightings didn't end in Point Pleasant. December 30th, 2021, in a quiet residential area outside of northwest Arkansas, a driver reported a deeply unsettling encounter. The account, posted to the YouTube channel Weird in the News, described a creature gliding across the treetops just after dusk. It was huge, the witness said, larger than any bird I've ever seen. It moved like it wasn't flying, just floating. And then I saw them, those same red eyes, watching, judging. It felt like the night itself had turned to stone. These accounts stretch beyond state lines and generations, suggesting that the Mothman may not be confined to Point Pleasant at all, but a being tied to times of upheaval, places of trauma, or shifting spiritual energy. Some researchers speculate it could be a tulpa, a thought form born of collective fear. Others tie it to Indrid Cold, the enigmatic grinning man said to have appeared in the area during the same time, suggesting a possible extraterrestrial origin. Whatever its true nature, the Mothman remains one of the most haunting figures in modern folklore. Neither beast nor ghost, not quite demon nor angel, it straddles the line between prophecy and predator. Its wings may not tear flesh, but they shake the soul. And if the legends are to be believed, it doesn't appear at random. It arrives with purpose. As we move from the flesh and blood cryptids of the forest into something more ethereal, our next legend takes us to the ancient ridges of western North Carolina, where a strange and silent phenomenon has captivated and terrified generations. They are called the Brown Mountain Lights. Unlike the Mothman or the Wampus cat, these are not creatures with claws or wings. They are lights, floating, glowing spheres that drift along the mountaintops, appearing suddenly in the night, then vanishing as if swallowed by the stars. Brown Mountain, part of the Pisgah National Forest near Morganton, is known for its sweeping views and isolation. When the sun disappears behind the peaks and the sky turns obsidian, locals and visitors alike have reported seeing mysterious orbs of light, sometimes red, sometimes white or amber, rising from the tree line or gliding silently above the valley floor. They appear most often on clear, moonless nights, but never in the same place twice. The first printed report came in 1913 when a fisheries expert wrote to the U.S. Geological Survey after witnessing the lights for himself. But the legend far predates that. Cherokee and Catawba oral traditions speak of spirit fires on the ridgeline, believed to be the souls of long-dead warriors searching for their lost kin. Some 18th century settlers believed that the lights marked buried treasure or entrances to the spirit world. But those who have seen them up close tell a different story, something more intelligent, more deliberate. Mary, who lived near Brown Mountain in the 1950s, remembered a night so cold the windows had frosted over. I was driving the back road near Jonas Ridge, and the mountains were pitch black. Suddenly, I saw them, small lights moving across the ridgeline. Not like flashlights, not like fire. They pulsed, and then they weren't random. They moved in a pattern, like they were looking for something. Officer Daniels, a sheriff's deputy patrolling the outskirts in 1962, recounted a night he would never forget. I saw 3 or 4 of them rising out of the trees, not fast, not slow, just floating, drifting like they were weightless. But the air changed when they came. It got still. The crickets stopped chirping. I got this strange pressure in my chest, like I was underwater. I watched them for nearly 5 minutes before they blinked out, one by one. These lights have been photographed, filmed, and scientifically studied for over a century. Skeptics have offered dozens of explanations: swamp gas, headlights, reflections, atmospheric plasma, even distant train lanterns. But none of those theories account for what the locals continue to see today, particularly in the places where no roads, trains, or modern lights can reach. In the fall of 2023, a pair of amateur astronomers visited Wiseman's View, a rocky overlook above the Linville Gorge, known for its commanding view of Brown Mountain. After nearly an hour of waiting, the first light appeared, high above the ridgeline, pulsing slowly in a rhythmic pattern. It wasn't a plane, one of them said. It moved with purpose, almost like it was reacting to us being there. The orb faded, then reappeared closer, before blinking out entirely. What struck them most wasn't the sighting itself, but what followed: a profound sense of being observed, as if something was just beyond the view, watching from the void. Some witnesses described the lights as beautiful, even hypnotic. Others, speak of intense nausea, headaches, or lingering anxiety that lasts for days. A few have claimed to see shapes within the lights, vague silhouettes, shadows that shouldn't be there, impressions of movement inside the orbs, suggesting these aren't just phenomena, they're entities. One particularly chilling account comes from a camper in the 1980s who claimed to follow one of the lights deep into the forest only to wake up miles from their campsite with no memory of how they got there. The implication? The lights don't just want to be seen, they might want something more. Whether the brown mountain lights are spirits, extraterrestrial probes, interdimensional anomalies, or something else entirely, they remain one of the most persistent and baffling phenomena in the Appalachian region. And maybe that's the point. Some mysteries aren't meant to be solved. They're meant to be witnessed and remembered. Hidden in the dense underbrush and shadowy hollows of Appalachia is a predator shrouded in myth and fear. Locals call it the Wampus cat, a beast both feline and phantasmal. According to Cherokee legend, the creature was once a woman, cursed after spying on a sacred ritual and doomed to wander the forests half human, half cat for an eternity. Other accounts suggest it is a guardian spirit of the mountains, protecting sacred land from intruders. Whatever its origin, sightings of this creature stretch back over 100 years, and its legend only seems to grow stronger with time. The Wampus cat is typically described as panther-sized, with sleek dark fur, sometimes jet black, other times a tan pattern with rosettes. Its glowing yellow eyes are its most distinct feature, burning like lanterns in the night. Witnesses speak of an eerie intelligence in its gaze, and a bone-chilling howl, not a typical feline roar, but a scream said to sound unnervingly human. Some have seen it walking upright like a person, while others say it moves like a shadow, faster than any natural predator, vanishing before a gun can be raised or a flashlight aimed. David, an experienced hunter, recounted a close call in 1985 deep in the forest near the Kentucky border. I was tracking deer near dusk. The woods had gone dead silent, no birds, no squirrels, nothing. Then I saw it, a long, low body moving between the trees with unnatural grace. Its eyes locked on mine, and I swear I felt it thinking. It wasn't stalking prey, it was watching me, testing me. I backed out of those woods without a sound. Samantha, a hiker in North Georgia, shared a chilling tale from 1990. I was alone on a moonlit trail. Maybe 3 miles out, I stopped for water and heard it, this low, guttural growl that didn't belong. When I turned, I saw it crouched on a rock. It wasn't just big, it was wrong. Too muscular, too aware. Its eyes were gold and fixed on me like it was daring me to move. I didn't breathe until it slinked away. Farmer Bill, who'd lived on the edge of the woods since 1977, told of checking his livestock one evening. It was near dark, and I saw something moving near the fence. It was huge, sleek, silent, and fast. I barely saw more than a silhouette, but its eyes lit up when my lantern caught them. Glowing like twin coals, it didn't run when I shouted. It just stood there and watched. Then it melted into the trees like smoke. An elder from Cherokee, North Carolina, once told visiting folklorist Esther Leland in the 1960s that the Wampus cat was more than a cryptid. It was a spiritual entity. It guards the sacred places, he said, where the old stones stand, where blood and fire marked the ground. If you hear it, turn back. If you see it, pray it doesn't follow. On April 14, 2023, residents of Blacktip Island near the Tennessee River Basin reported a terrifying encounter. A group of friends hiking near a wooded bluff found enormous paw prints, far larger than any known wild cat. They were fresh, said Eagle Ray, a local, still pressed into the mud like it had passed through minutes before. Then we heard it, that roar. It wasn't a mountain lion. It was deeper, sharper, like something screaming through gritted teeth. Several people saw a dark figure vanish into the underbrush moments later. Authorities issued a temporary advisory urging residents to avoid traveling alone at night. Others speak of a strange phenomenon that precedes a sighting: electronics failing, dogs refusing to enter certain areas, or the sudden absence of wind or birdsong, like the forest itself is holding its breath. To some, the Wampus cat is a cursed being, to others, a spiritual guardian. Some believe it may be a surviving remnant of a prehistoric predator, something beyond science, surviving only in the deepest, untouched pockets of the forest. Whatever the truth, those who've seen the Wampus cat never forget it. Its presence lingers in the quiet rustle of trees, the unnatural hush of the woods, and the feeling that somewhere something is watching, waiting. In the dark, wooded ridgelines where Maryland bleeds into the Appalachian spine, an older terror flutters in the fog. Its name is whispered in half-remembered Pennsylvania Dutch and echoed in Appalachian drawl, the Snallygaster. A monstrous hybrid, the Snallygaster is often described as part reptile, part bird, with enormous leathery wings, razor-sharp talons, and a long serpentine neck that ends in a beaked maw filled with jagged teeth. It's said to screech with a voice that can shatter glass and stop hearts, and to appear only when the mists roll in thick and the moon hides behind the clouds. The creature's origins trace back to the 18th century German immigrants who'd settled in the hills and hollers of what is now western Maryland and southern Pennsylvania. Their legends spoke of forest spirits, shape-shifting devourers from the old world, that followed them across the ocean. As they mingled with Appalachian mountain folk, those spirits took on the new names and forms. Among them, the Snallygaster endured. It became a thing of whispered warnings, a sky-dwelling predator said to carry off livestock, children, even full-grown men. Some believed it was the devil's creature, marked by a single unblinking eye in the center of its forehead. Others claimed it could hypnotize its prey with its shriek, leaving them paralyzed just before it struck. Thomas, a farmer from a remote Virginia valley, recalled a harrowing night in 1983. A storm was rolling in, real nasty, thunder booming across the ridges. I was bringing in my goats when I heard this awful noise. Not thunder. It was higher, twisted, like a rusty gate screaming underwater. Then I saw it, just beyond the tree line. Huge wings, long neck, eyes that caught every bit of lightning. I ran. I didn't even look back to see if it followed. Elaine, a local journalist and self-proclaimed skeptic, had a close encounter in 1990. I was covering a piece on urban legends, she said, driving a back road near Sharpsburg. In the thick fog, I saw a shape ahead, tall, hunched, unnatural. It turned its head and I saw the glint of something metallic. Then it moved, fast. I slammed the brakes, and that's when I heard the screech. My ears rang for hours. It was real. I don't care what the scientists say. Greg, a night watchman in 1970, was patrolling a rural construction site when he heard an unearthly rustling in the tree canopy. At first, I thought it was just a large owl, but then I saw it fly out above the clearing. It wasn't just big, it was impossible. Long wings, this weird gliding motion like it wasn't bound by air, the same way birds are. And the face. Jesus, the face. It had a beak, but also teeth. It turned midair like it saw me. I dropped my flashlight and ran. I never worked another night shift. There are darker tales, too. Ones not often printed in the newspapers or shared openly. In 1923, a series of mysterious disappearances plagued a logging town deep in the mountains near Harper's Ferry. Locals reported hearing terrible cries in the sky and finding pools of blood with no bodies nearby. The stories were dismissed as hysteria until the town's postmaster vanished, leaving only deep gouges across the roof of his home. The town disbanded within a year. A lesser-known theory links the Snallygaster to the Mothman, that both are manifestations of a singular ancient force that takes different forms depending on the fear it feeds upon. Some call them guardians, others believe they are predators of the psychic realm, drawn to sorrow, loss, the primal fear of the unknown. Today, Snallygaster sightings are rarer, but they still happen. Hikers vanish without a trace. Hunters report gutted carcasses of deer high up in the trees. And every now and then, someone hears that unholy screech tear across the ridges, followed by a heavy silence that makes the hair up on your arms stand up. Whether it's a misremembered bird, a spiritual entity, or something prehistoric that the earth hasn't quite shaken loose, the Snallygaster remains a permanent fixture in Appalachian folklore. And like many things in these mountains, it's not something you go looking for. If it wants you, it'll find you. In the quiet wind-worn hollows of the Appalachian Mountains, not all hauntings take the form of monsters with claws or glowing eyes. Some wear the face of human suffering, thin, pale, and half forgotten. One of the most chilling spirits said to wander these woods is the Fear Gorta, a name taken from the old Irish Gaelic meaning "man of hunger." Unlike most cryptids or ghostly entities, the Fear Gorta is not simply a creature to fear, it is a test, a reflection of your soul in the moment you encounter it. Traditionally, the Fear Gorta hails from Irish famine lore, appearing during times of extreme hunger as a gaunt, spectral figure cloaked in rags and hollowed by starvation. It approaches travelers or homesteaders, begging softly for food. To feed it is to receive blessings, good fortune, health, and abundant harvests. But to turn it away is to invite misfortune, sickness, or even death. When Irish immigrants came to the Appalachian region in the 18th and 19th centuries, they brought their legends with them, some as tales to pass the time, others as cautionary truths. And in the deep folds of these mountains, isolated and wild, the Fear Gorta found a new home. Sightings tend to occur not in towns but in forgotten clearings, dusty backroads, and collapsed cabins that seem to appear where no structure should be. The figure is described as gaunt and skeletal, often barefoot, with sunken eyes, pallid skin, and a voice like a dry wind whispering through dead corn stalks. An anonymous settler's diary from 1889, found in the attic of an abandoned farmhouse near Princeton, West Virginia, contains a haunting entry. Saw a man at the edge of the woods, thin as a corpse, mouth twisted in sorrow. He asked for bread. I gave him half my loaf. He vanished without a sound. The next spring, the blight spared my fields. No one else in the valley was so lucky. A coal miner in 1933, working in a company town during the worst of the Great Depression, told his grandson of a strange meeting outside the entrance to a sealed mine shaft. He was just standing there, the miner said. No tools, no helmet, just staring. I gave him half my lunch. The next day, a cave-in hit shaft 2, but my shift had been reassigned at the last minute. I would have been buried alive. Appalachian folklore researcher Leah Winthrop documented a series of Fear Gorta encounters in eastern Kentucky during a 1977 drought. She interviewed 3 families who each reported seeing a skeletal stranger on their property during the height of food shortages. One family gave him apples, another gave him milk. The third, fearing for their own children, turned him away. Within a month, the father of that third household was killed in a logging accident, the only fatality of the season. And perhaps most unsettling is the implication that the Fear Gorta is not a ghost, but a force of nature itself. It doesn't haunt, it arrives. It appears not when we are safe, but when we are vulnerable, when food is scarce, when hope is thin, when the line between life and death grows perilously quiet. A recent account from 2022, posted anonymously on a local folklore forum, described a sighting in a remote stretch of the Great Smoky Mountains. A backpacker, exhausted and low on supplies, claimed he saw a man standing motionless beside a crooked tree as dusk fell. He was barefoot, with torn clothes, just staring. His face didn't look angry. It looked disappointed. I had half a protein bar left and gave it to him. He nodded once and walked away. The next morning, I woke up 10 feet from a fallen tree that had crushed my campsite. If I hadn't moved, I wouldn't be here to write this. Some believe the Fear Gorta is drawn to emotional famine just as much as physical, appearing to those who are morally starving, those who have nothing left to give, or have refused to give it all. There is a strange intimacy to the encounter, as though the figure doesn't just see you, it knows you. It weighs your kindness, your empathy, your soul. And if the mountains themselves are alive, as many believe, then the Fear Gorta may be their voice in human form. A spirit not meant to torment, but to reveal, to test. So if you ever find yourself alone on that cold Appalachian trail and see a figure too still, too thin, too quiet, don't turn your back. And don't assume it's just another hiker. Because if it asks you for something to eat, you only get one chance to answer. Our final tale reaches deeper than any hollow, darker than any cave, and older than any ghost story passed down in whispers. It speaks of a creature not just unseen, but buried in time, in stone, and perhaps still in the water. This is the legend of the Olifeist. Born in the mythic fog of ancient Ireland, the Olifeist is a colossal serpent-like creature said to have once carved the rivers of that green land with the thrashing of its body. It was feared as a dragon, a destroyer of villages, an enemy of saints, and a devourer of men. While scholars dismiss the Olifeist as a relic of Celtic myth, Appalachian lore keepers know a different truth. When Irish immigrants crossed the Atlantic and made their homes deep in the Appalachian valleys, they brought with them more than traditions and songs. They carried memories. And some believed that not all creatures from the Old World stayed behind. Some were called across, some followed, some waited. In remote parts of eastern Tennessee, southern Virginia, and the mountain lakes of western North Carolina, stories persist of something vast moving beneath the water. Something ancient and coiled, with scales like iron, eyes like cold fire, and a body that can shake the earth when it stirs. Locals don't often speak its name, but they know the signs: frothing waters with no wind, fish floating belly up in perfectly clear ponds, and a deep hum in the rocks, like something breathing beneath your feet. A letter from 1901, published in a Tennessee Mountain Gazette, described a disturbing event at a secluded lake near Tellico Plains. I saw the surface rise, not in waves, but as though something vast was lifting it from below. Then came the smell, sulfur and rot. I caught a glimpse of scales, slick and black, like wet slate. Whatever it was, it looked at me. Not with animal hunger, but with awareness. In 1972, two hikers near the Nolichucky River Gorge reported seeing a long, dark shape twist through the water at impossible speed. It was too big for a gator, too smooth for logs. We were standing on a cliffside when it surfaced. Its back broke the water in 3 places, like a spine. And when it dove, it made no splash, like it didn't disturb the water at all. An oral tradition from the early 1800s, passed down through an Irish-American family in Western Virginia, tells of a cave dragon that once slithered out of the ground during a lightning storm, flooding a valley and swallowing livestock. They said it returned to the lake when it was done. The tale concludes, but it listens when you curse near the water, it waits for disrespect. What makes these accounts so disturbing isn't just the scale of the creature, but its silence. Witnesses speak of the air going still, of birds falling quiet, of a low vibration that sets teeth on edge, or pulsing pressure in the ears like you're standing beside a distant, unseen machine. A 2015 account, a spelunker in the Appalachian Caverns near Bluff City, recalls finding massive gouge marks along the limestone walls, deep furrows wide as tree trunks. It looked like something scraped its way through the rock, they wrote in their field journal. Something with patience and strength, and a purpose. There's an unsettling thread running through the Olifeist stories. They often appear just before flooding, landslides, or unexplained drownings. Some speculate the creature is tied to geomantic energy, a guardian of sacred veins running beneath the mountains. Others believe it is a remnant of a prehistoric species never catalogued, hiding in the untouched lakes and sinkholes that pepper the Appalachian spine. And then there are those who whisper a far older idea, that the Olifeist isn't from here at all, that it's something invited or awakened by acts of greed, desecration, or violence done to the land. In that sense, it's not just a monster, it's a reckoning. So if you find yourself near a remote mountain lake and feel the ground hum beneath your boots, if you see the water bulge for no reason, if the animals grow quiet and the wind dies, don't linger. The Olifeist does not roar, it waits. And when it comes not to be seen, but to remind. Have you ever come face to face with something that defied logic? Something that left you wondering if the veil between worlds had thinned for just a moment? Whether you've glimpsed a winged figure in the fog, seen lights dancing on a distant ridge, or felt the weight of something ancient watching from the woods, I want to hear your story. Email your experiences to arcaneechoespodcast@gmail.com or share them in the comments. Your encounter could be featured in a future episode, and your voice could help illuminate the mysteries that hide in plain sight. Because the truth is, these legends live on through you, through what you've seen, what you've felt, and what you've dared to believe. As we close our lantern-lit journey through the Appalachian wilderness, let's take a final moment to listen to the wind through the trees, the silence beneath the hills, and the stories etched into the bones of this ancient land. The Mothman, the brown mountain lights, the Wampus cat, the Snallygaster, the spectral fear Gorta, and the slumbering Olifeist. These aren't just campfire tales or cautionary fables. They're living echoes, passed from voice to voice, embedded in the land like roots too deep to dig up. And these mountains, where time folds like fog around the trees, the boundary between legend and truth doesn't blur, it vanishes. Thank you for walking this haunted path with me tonight. Stay curious, stay watchful, and above all, listen closely, because the Appalachians are still whispering, and sometimes they'll whisper your name.